This title is narrated with virtual voice, computer-generated narration for audiobooks. Time Rewritten by Kathryn Scarborough. I had been in England for exactly 10 days, and those days had seemed like the longest of my life. I was overwhelmed with this very unexpected legacy. I knew that with a last name like Scarborough, English ancestors were plentiful on my family tree. Yet until my nephew Jason, the attorney in the family, showed me the papers, it never occurred to me that one of them would leave me a manor house complete with all of its contents, including rodents, spiders, and mildew. More importantly, I discovered since I'd arrived that my family was also related, very remotely, to Jane Austen. That great author had once visited this manor house, probably in 1812 or 1813, regardless of the romantic notion of standing on the same floor, touching the same wall, or breathing the same air as Jane Austen. My main focus was still to sell the old place and get back home to Raleigh, North Carolina. I had a life, and I must return to it as quickly as possible. I stopped my ascent on the stair to sneeze and wiped my face with a dirty dustcloth, only encouraging my sinuses to expel yet again. I reached the third floor, one I had yet to examine in my examination of the place, and shouldered my way through an inner door of one of the less elaborate bedrooms. I used the huge cloth to bat away cobwebs and rolling dust balls and stopped again to sneeze. This room had no windows, and therefore might have been used as a dressing room off the bedroom. I pulled out my flashlight and trained it on the walls. There were two pieces of furniture, a bedstead leaning against the outside wall, and a vanity with 3 drawers on one side and none on the other, with the 2 sides joined by a table-like portion. I pulled out a large flathead screwdriver from one of the pockets of my apron. Maybe I could use it to get the drawers open. The top drawer pulled out only on the right side about 2 inches with a screech. There was nothing in it but a dead, and now mummified mouse. The next drawer had to be jimmied open with the screwdriver. I held it open at arm's length, afraid of another mouse sighting, and looked inside. Just some loose papers. The pages were written on old-fashioned, heavy stationery, so brittle with age that the pages began to fall apart in my hand. There were 3 curlicue initials on the top of the page, so ornate I could not read them. Since I had at last freed the drawer, I pulled it all the way out and shined the flashlight toward the back. I saw the edge of some sort of book or pamphlet that had a plain paper cover that was pushed against the outside wall of the dresser. As carefully as I could, I pulled both the drawers out of the desk and put them on the floor. As I shone the light into the back of the empty drawer space, the edge of the book fully appeared, and looked either to be a notebook or journal. I didn't want to inadvertently damage it, but my fingers still trembled as I carefully pulled it from the back of the desk, and noting the fragility of the book, made my heart beat rapidly with excitement. Carefully, I wrapped the book in my big dust cloth, backed out of the room, and made my way down the stairs. I washed my hands carefully before I took the notebook from its dust cloth wrapping, and longed for a pair of conservator's white gloves before touching the ancient book. If it was terribly old or historically important in some way, I didn't want to destroy it by being careless. Turning on the table lamp, I read aloud. Journal of Miss Jane Austen, London, England, August 1812. A journal of Jane Austen's? But how can this be? Jane Austen had been so important a historical figure. Surely over the past 200 years, everything about her had been discovered, studied, and dissected in minute detail. With trepidation, I gingerly opened the book. It took but a few minutes to realize the account was of Miss Austen's visit, on a trip with her brother Henry, to the London Museum Library. Some of the writing had faded to nothing, and some of the pages, especially those at the end of the journal, had almost entirely disintegrated. I began to read the first page, which was still intact except for the first few words. Many years since I had been in London. It was all too exciting, and I shall be eternally grateful to Henry for allowing me to accompany him. Only once before had I come when I was a young girl. Then I strained my neck to look at the buildings, the people, and all the shops. I'm so pleased that my brother could bring me. He has prevailed upon me to take what enjoyments I could from the day, as he has important tasks to complete at his solicitor's office. I therefore hired a cab to take me to the London Museum Library.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.